Well, I tell you, you got her, ain't you? I gave up managers along with drugs in the late 70s. I was ripped off too much, and I started looking after myself. I just figured out what are the big questions, you know, what is it I was going to have to deal with? Do I want to do that gig? How much do I want for it? I couldn't think of anything else. I thought, this is why you give all this money to these men who say, you've been offered a show, Dave, and I think you ought to get X amount for it. And you go, oh, great, here's all my money. You know, because actually it's not, the decisions aren't much greater than that, really. If there's something that requires extraordinarily lengthy contracts, your manager wouldn't do it for you anyway. He'd go off and get a lawyer to do all that part. So I get my own lawyer, and I get him to do it for that job. And that's vaguely how it works, you know.
Are all managers leeches?
I don't know any. I don't know any. There are form of species. There are species that I really have nothing to do with.
A truly alien form.
Well, yeah. Let's look under this rock here. See if there's one. Any rock and roll, you'll find a manager underneath it. You know, kind of like those frogs that just sit there and an insect comes along. Their tongue comes out, and it's like.
And sure, they feel the same way about you.
Oh, they've got lovely. Haven't you heard what they say? They've got lovely things to say about me. I say, if you haven't got anything good to say about anybody, come and sit next to me. That's. I always say that.
I feel like a good place.
Anyway, back to Nietzsche.
Back to Nietzsche.
I'm moving about a bit, so.
Okay.
My generation was so gung-ho and so pompous about what we felt was right and what was wrong. I think we had a lot to say in terms of. I think the best thing that we laid down was. I think the best thing we did was completely destroy most of the 19th century ways of thinking about how society operates. I think that we had a real clear idea of the intolerability of a class system and of that kind of elitism. I think we understood the pure, massive, inhuman bigotries of racism, and I think we felt that sexually our fathers and forefathers had brought about a lot of pain in their relationships through their attitudes to sex. We didn't get it right either, but we knew it had to move along somewhere. I think we helped create a pluralistic society, which I think was terribly important, because that was the main thing. The 70s, for me, started the 21st century. That's my good line, that, isn't it? Don't you like that line? The 21st century started, in fact, in the 70s. But only because it was really the beginnings of a true pluralism in social attitudes. And I think it had such a lot to do with the idea of breaking things down, breaking absolutes down. Your question.
Well, the question that springs to mind at that is that it seems like a rather lofty claim for musicians and you know, on one level are pop stars to affect what you're claiming for yourself and your generation as really profound changes.
Lofty claims are the name of our game, son. That's our calling card. Ideals are us. That's my management company. Yeah, I know. Well, no, okay. I don't think that rock ever has been a leader in terms of original thinking or presenting really original questions even. But I think what it does do is home in and focus incredibly accurately on how that generation of people are thinking. It reflects very well. I was always drawn to a kind of a far more rough, aggressive vehicle, you know, and I liked the music of Velvet Underground as opposed to Beatles or whatever. And with the Beatles, it was John Lennon, not Paul, But hey, who didn't? And the kinds of artists like Wildman Fisher and Iggy Pop and you know, those kinds of, just on the outside, and something that were, there was some kind of, you know, like the Fan, I kind of was absolutely mesmerized by the idea of people committing emotional self-mutilation. It was sort of, you know, this kind of tongue hanging out, waiting for them to actually kind of drop dead or do something. Such a disappointment when we all clean up. God, it's such misery. Oh, sorry, no blood left. You know, it's because it is myth-like. There's some kind of, there's an aspect of Greek mythology to all that. We are the pantheon of the, you know, of playing out the moral narratives of our time, and it really doesn't help if the actor decides he's not going to do the lines, you know.
You once told me that you lost your way in the 80s. You put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. I guess, you know, nothing always happens at once in terms of personal success, and where I was sort of physically cleaning up pretty skillfully. The idea, adapting to the idea of being kind of mainstream, I found very difficult indeed. But looking at it in a fairly sober light, I felt that I could deal with it, you know, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't.
But I think Tin Machine may have been a way for you to, that you were finding your way back to what your calling was.
Yeah, yeah. A couple of things happened really. At the end of the Glass Spider tour, which was probably my most successful tour ever. I mean, it was 2.5 million people or something saw that tour. It was just extraordinary, and I was so beat by it. The whole three-ring circus thing about it, and trying to reach a wider and wider audience, you know, without any kind of feelings of artistic passion at all. I didn't really believe in the material I was doing. And indeed some of it was very good material, but I just had lost the belief in myself as a creative artist. And I got introduced to Reeves Gabrels as a guitar player and just a good guy that I met during the later part of that tour. And he just very simply said, you've just got to stop doing this, you know, there's no way out. You just either, you have to stop completely and give up if you really feel this bad about it. I mean, I've been whining, like moaning and whining, is there no end to this self-pity? No, because I'm a rock god. And Reeves just said, stop, you know, just stop doing it, just stop doing it. Do what you like doing. I said, but you don't understand. He said, yes, I do understand, I've read all the books. And that was it really, and I just stopped doing it, you know, and I formed Tin Machine with the really quite clumsy idea that I could just disappear into a band anonymously. And for all the negative aspects of that, actually, it was a very freeing experience. We'd started writing in a way that that was so reminiscent of the way that I used to write. It was very spontaneous, none of it was pre-written. The stuff was vibrant and exciting. It was to us, anyway. And there was an air of improvisation about the gigs that we did. The whole thing is on a much smaller scale. There was not the feeling of the entourage that one, even unconsciously, collects around one. You know, you sort of end up on a tour and you've got 150 people all told with you. And it's, where do I don't even know half these people, you know, and they're supposed to be with me on this tour. There was nothing human about it. It got them so corporate. And Machine was a real good way of sort of solving that kind of problem.
It's ironic though, because I think a lot of the people.
I feel so much better for that.
You're cleansed, are you?
Yes, I feel cleansed. I'm purged.
Motion sickness bag. It's ironic though, because I think a lot of the people.
I feel so much better for that.
You're cleansed, are you?
Yes, I feel cleansed. I'm purged.
Motion sickness bag? No.
No, we're Lotus. We are Lotus.
You don't seem as concerned about playing to a gallery anymore. But those are the people who would like what you're doing now.
I never did then, you know. In the 70s, I would move so fast between one idea and another. I mean, probably much faster than I move now. But the intent is the same, is that I sort of I create something out of my enthusiasms at that particular moment. I get re-enthused by something else, and suddenly I don't see that anymore, and I'm over here. And that's the way I am. I have no apology. I'm just like that. That's my nature. I'm no attention span whatsoever. Can't study. Definitely the class clown. A real exhibitionist will probably go into show business.
Let's start with where you are right now.
Yeah. So happy with myself.
Thanks a lot.
My pleasure, really. Ta-da. And I think the little house knows a lot more about it than it's telling. Don't you? So I've got nothing else. You got 3 or 4 more rounds?
Great, yeah, sure,
let's
absolutely.
just go for it.
Get some lunch.
And it was a nice interview. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank God we finally found you. Oh, I'm sorry you're not.
No, I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry. We've been looking for Ziggy Stardust.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Any idea where we might find him?
I couldn't tell you.
I'm sorry, just said from behind. You understand? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. I get that all the time.